Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Christian Hanna Horror, and we're about to review the new Candyman. So I just got out of the theater, fresh on my mind, and we're going to talk about it. This will be spoiler-free until I get to the spoiler section. And I'll echo the sentiments of a lot that you've probably heard if you watch much reviews from this film. Huge fan of the original. I think it's literally one of the best, if not the best film from the 90s. I battle that with Silence of the Lambs, and quite frankly, I could really teeter-totter back and forth on a daily basis for which one I think is the best one. But a huge fan of it. Tony Todd is, in fact, an icon. Massive fan of Tony. I try to watch almost everything he's in, even movies like Candy Corn, which are really low-budget, silly films, but he is freaking Candyman. Tony Todd is an icon. So I was excited about this film, especially when you hear that he's supposed to be in the film, which he is legitimately in the film, but we'll talk more about that at the end. But right off the bat, why don't I just tell you guys whether I liked it or not. I went in expecting to hate it. Because I've seen reviews that don't like it at all, a lot of middle ground and it's okay reviews, and a few that loved it. I am a middle ground person. I thought it was okay. I don't know that it's going to become a horror classic, so to speak, but it certainly didn't insult the original by any stretch. As a matter of fact, it highly relies on the original film in more ways than one, so that was cool to see that. But I thought it was okay. I'd give it a C. I'll tell you a little bit about the things I liked and a little bit of the things that I don't like. So just to really simplify the plot of this movie, you've got a main character named Anthony McCoy. Now, he's a painter, he's a visual artist, and he needs inspiration. His work is not being appreciated, so to speak, especially by the guy who runs the gallery that he has displays at, and he says, "You got to get inspired, man. We got to get you going. We need to get you to change things up. You're doing the same thing over and over again." And he finds inspiration when he hears the story of Helen Lyle, and he's hearing about Helen from the 1992 film, about how she burned in the bonfire, what she did. She was the one that cut off a Rottweiler's head and abducted a baby, and it was a spooky tale. So he did some research and looked into it. Then he went to go talk to a laundromat guy when he was near Cabrini Green, and he heard about there was more to that story, and he taught him about Candyman. And that's the first time he hears about Candyman. Well, he gets real inspired and spooked out from the story, and he learns about a gentleman that was at the Cabrini Green housing projects passing out candy. And you learn that this guy was killed by the cops. Now, I'm already having something go off in my head saying, wait a minute, that's not the story of Candyman. And that's going to become very, very important, because you learn that there are Candymen, so to speak. But Tony Todd, in the lore of this movie, was the original and the real Candyman. And this evil would be passed down throughout generations, and all generations would have a Candyman. And they revolved around people that were killed unjustly, so to speak, and that didn't do anything wrong. So this guy was legitimately a guy who would pass out candy to the kids around the area, and all of a sudden there would be a couple stories here and there of of kids being killed because they had razors in their candy, and this guy got the blame put on him, and then cops, they were looking for him, and they killed him right on the spot. Well, he becomes a Candyman. He becomes this Candyman in the story. And I liked the look of this guy. I liked his persona, because as the film goes on, Anthony gets to see, obviously, Candyman, because you can bet your bottom dollar people are going to be saying Candyman in the mirror in this film. And I like the look of this guy. I actually really liked, he had this snarling smile to him in a way. Like, he had a different vibe from Tony. But it's important to note that he is a Candyman. He's not the Candyman, so to speak. So I liked where the story went. The only problem, and this is something I've heard a bunch, and I've got to echo the same sentiments, I felt it got a little convoluted in the third act. We'll talk more about that in the spoiler section of the video. But I did really enjoy the first two acts. I thought it was, like I said, I thought it was pretty good. I don't think it's a horror classic by any stretch. The music was not bad at all. They obviously would reference Philip's score, and they took some cues and made them heavy parts of the music. And I thought that was respectful and pretty good. But the Philip Glass score is, quite frankly, one of the greatest scores ever. Now, the filmmaking itself was probably the strongest element. I thought the filmmaking looked really good. I thought the shots were done very well. I really like the close-ups of the faces. Some good choices with the look and sound of this movie. So that was cool. And one thing I want to say is, I didn't expect this, quite frankly, but like, being a huge fan of the original, I gotta say, it felt like a Candyman film. So that was something I wasn't quite frankly, expecting. But they did a good job on the filmmaking aspect. Nia and the team, they all did a great job. I liked our main character, very likable guy in the film. You really got behind him. Some of the supporting characters they were all fine. I didn't really have a standout. The only one I really got behind was our main character. I just loved his performance. I liked his dialogue. I liked him. I just thought he was great. So great choice on lead actors. Really dug him. So overall, like I said, I would give the film a C plus or minus. You could really go either way. Quite frankly, I wouldn't get into the weeds that much, but I'd give it a C overall. Like the film, but a few things that I did not like, and we're still spoiler free here, was way too much CGI. I mean, there were scenes where you would see blood dripping in a bathroom, and it was CGI blood. I question that. Wouldn't it have even been cheaper to actually just get, fake blood to pour on the ground? A lot of the Candyman kills were off-screen, too, which was really disheartening. When you think about Candyman, it's such a visceral, physical character, and some of the kills were just done off-screen. So that was really a bummer. I don't remember what this film was rated. I think somebody said it was rated like a 14 up kind of thing. I can't remember, but even by 2021 standards, gore is not something that should really shied away from at all anymore. Like, we're so desensitized now. I mean, movies back then that were rated R would be like PG today. But regardless, a lot of off-screen kills, so that was upsetting. I still think you can be on screen and still be sensual and be creepy. I understand the notion of it's what you don't see, but at the same time, I mean, look, this is Candyman, for God's sakes. I wanted to see some kills. Those are some of the things I did not care for. So let's get into the spoiler section of this video. All right, so now we'll talk about some of the things logistically and in the film. I mentioned the third act, okay? So as you go progress through this film, you learn about the different Candymen that come through because of what happens to them in real life and their stories, and I thought that was cool. But I still love that they told the story of Candyman, the original Candyman, the Candyman, Tony Todd, and I was so glad we got to see him. The only thing about this film that I thought I didn't really care for was by the third act, I thought we had a big Dr. Sartain moment in a sense when the guy who was like the gatekeeper for the story, the laundromat guy who taught our main character about the story of Candyman. There was a scene where he was legitimately shoving the hook up his arm and all this, because you learn that our main character, and I thought this took me back when I realized what was going on. He was the baby that was abducted from Candyman in the first film, so there's a huge connection there. But the fact that, we actually saw the laundromat guy, he's shoving the hook up our main character's arm and stuff like that to turn him into the Candyman, I thought that was a little forced. I didn't think that was necessary. I thought we could have done that a little bit more methodical, and less is more right there. It's funny, I needed more when they had less, but right here I wanted a little bit less when they gave more. And it just felt a little convoluted, the third act. And that's something I saw a lot of people say, and I got to echo that same sentiment. I say that brought the film down for me a little bit, but quite frankly, still, I just think overall the film was pretty good. Just expected to really not like this film, but I thought it was pretty good. So I think it was worth a watch, certainly. I'll probably want to watch this one again, quite frankly. And obviously seeing Tony Todd at the end was great. If we get more and we can actually get Tony Todd in a sequel, kind of like what they did with Luke Skywalker in the new Star Wars, that would be cool, except don't make his character do a 180 like Last Jedi. Obviously, but I don't think they would do that. I don't even think Star Wars learned their lesson. But it would be cool to see the next one with Tony Todd again if they did that. Now I can anticipate them not making any more and leaving you on not necessarily a cliffhanger ending, but a really like, oh my god ending, what's next? But the very last frame of the film was cool with Tony and all that. Last few frames was cool. But I just felt getting there right then and there was a little, wait a minute, kind of, we could have done better with the storytelling, not necessarily the physical storytelling, which you saw on screen. Seeing Tony in the movie made sense, and it was awesome, but right before that, I thought we could have simplified some of that stuff a little bit. So overall, I'd give this film a C. I thought I was going to hate it, but I was pleasant. I was surprised. I wasn't pleasantly surprised because I didn't love the film, but I thought it was pretty good. So There were things I liked and things I didn't like, but overall it was worth a shot, and I enjoyed going to see the film, and I'll probably pick it up when it comes out on video. That's where I stand on the film, guys. So I'd love to know your thoughts on Candyman. If you've seen it, please let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the film, good or bad, and what were some of the stuff you liked, didn't like, and all that jazz. So this is Christian Hanna Horror saying Candyman gets a C. C from me. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.